book launch, In Search of Picture of Nectar by Samresh Bose. So round of applause for that. Samresh Bose ji, regarded undisputably as one of the greatest Bengali writers of all times. In his lifetime, he has undergone interesting work experiences, ranging from hawking eggs in the streets to acting as a foreman in Ichhapur Ordnance Factory. His stories have been made into award-winning films. He has been a recipient of Sahitya Academy Award as well, and many more. It is our privilege to have Nirmal Kanti Bhattacharjee on stage. He's an author, an accomplished translator from Bengali into English and vice versa. His English translations of fictions of prominent writers have been well received. So once again, round of applause. I welcome Nirmal Kanti Bhattacharjee. I also welcome Deepankar Aron ji. He is recognized with the Presidential Award for his contribution as an Indian Revenue Service officer, is also a passionate traveler and a consummate photographer and writer. His articles have over the years appeared in various magazines and newspapers. Now, Ravishanker ji is also gracing the occasion, and it is our privilege to have him as chair. And I think everyone knows about him. And Ravishanker ji, who combines rich administrative experience with a flair for academics, was the Secretary to Governor of Uttarakhand. He served in the Government of India at various levels, Joint Secretary, Additional Secretary, and as a Secretary. In 2014, he was appointed as Secretary, Administrative Reforms, Government of India. After a brief stint in that position, he was appointed as Chief Secretary of Government of India. Sir is presently the Chancellor of DIT University. We welcome you, sir, on the stage once again. Now I request the dignitaries to untie the ribbon to launch the book. In Search of Picture of Nectar by Samresh Bose, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, so we should start. Let's begin the conversation.
Thank you, Dr. Sachi. Very good morning to everyone present here in this Hall of Words. Shri Nirmal Kanti Bhattacharjee ji, Shri Deepankar Aron ji, and all distinguished participants. Very happy to note that the Director of the Value of Words, Dr. Sanjeev Chopra, is also in our midst. And I welcome respected authors, Shri Arvinder Singh ji, Shri Kulbhushan Kain ji, well-known journalist, Shri Arun Pratap Singh ji, and others here. And also, I think it's an opportunity to welcome Srimati Ranjita Singh ji, who is going to present the Kala Kumbh in the DIT University in December. So we also have we have Srimati Sharmila Bhartari ji, who is a renowned dance exponent, and we have our Professor Patra and Srimati Patra, who is from the DIT University. Thank you very much. I welcome the youngsters here. And okay, now let me start with a very interesting way of asking and proceeding. How many of you have been to the Kumbh Mela? Wow, that's nice. How many have been actually to the Prayagraj Kumbh Mela? Okay. So I am sure that all who have been to the Kumbh Mela have been to the Haridwar Kumbh Mela. So as you will know from mythological aspect, the Devas and the Asuras did battle it over for the pitcher of nectar. And that Amrit fell in many spots, of which the Prayagraj is the most significant spot, Haridwar, and two others. Now, Prayagraj, it is the king of pilgrimages. So that's why it's called Prayagraj. Prayag is a confluence of the Ganga, the Yamuna, and the mythical Saraswati. Now, a bath at the Kumbh on a full moon day during the Kumbh Mela leads you almost straight to moksha. So, it is in search of the pitcher of nectar. That is the theme of this book. Written in Bangla, Amrita Kumbhar Sandane. I hope I pronounced it right. Sandane. By Samresh Bose, whose pen name should have been Kalkut, and translated into English by Sri Nirmal Kanti Bhattacharjee. I'd like to mention a bit about the author, Sri Nirmal Kant Bhattacharjee. He taught English literature and comparative literature at various universities and has worked in such institutions as Sahitya Academy, National Book Trust, and the K.K. Birla Foundation. An accomplished translator from Bengali into English. I would prefer to call it from Bangla into English. He has translated fictions of Tagore, Manik Bandyopadhyay, Mahashweta Devi, Sunil Gangopadhyay, and Sirshendu Mukhopadhyay, recipient of the Best Translators Award from IBI Congress, held in London in 2012, for translating Sunil Gangopadhyay's Bhayankar Sundar, or Dreadful Beauty. Mr. Bhattacharjee has co-edited a collection of stories of displacement from Assam, titled Barbed Wire Fences, and 2 volumes of Best of Indian Literature. Let's give a round of applause to Sri Nirmal Kant Bhattacharjee. Now, I have had the privilege of going through this book. I will say going through in the sense I have read it from cover to cover. Once I have read it, second time I have underlined it, for the simple reason I like to translate it back from English into my mother tongue and enjoy what has been written. So a book, yes, I in my mind translated it into Tamil, which is my mother tongue, and also in Hindi, which I understand very well and I'm very fluent in it. So, and my wife happens to know Bangla very well, so I told her, this is the thing, you must read it. And so we have multiple 4 languages in the house, so that sort of makes up for the whole thing. I would say, verve with which the author, Sri Nirmal Kanti Bhattacharjee, has woven the words. Today we all heard the speech of the Honorable Governor, in which he spoke about the power of words. I think we are all grateful to a wordsmith like Sri Nirmal Kanti Bhattacharjee to bring to life a Bangla novel into English and enable each one of us enjoy, for those who are not proficient and conversant with Bangla. The more important thing is, the theme is so universal. In search of the pitcher of nectar. Everyone understands the mythological importance of the Kumbh, which was actually being battled over between the Devas and the Asuras, and the drop from it in various locations makes it all the more interesting. Now, I would think understanding the protagonist, who is often referred to as Babuji or Thakurji in the novel, and his journey from Kolkata to Prayagraj or Allahabad, written because the book was written in the 1950s and almost timed after the Kumbh Mela of the 1950s, when the Kalyani Congress of the Indian National Congress also took place. I think these are all very important. Immediately after independence, and how the shades of what I can say understanding people, the travelogue, how you meet different cross sections of people, an Andhra family, a Madhya Pradesh family, and how the protagonist, who is from Kolkata, enjoys meeting another Bengali person, and the way in which he engages in converse. He is not going for the picture of nectar. He is gone to observe people. He is gone to observe people as to why there is such a human congregation at the Prayagraj. Let me tell you, for the youngsters who may not be aware, that the Kumbh Mela congregation at Allahabad is the largest congregation of humankind anywhere. The densest presence of mankind anywhere would be at the Prayagraj. Now I would like to hand over the conversation to Shri Deepankar Aronji. Deepankar Aronji is a polyglot, I would term it. He is an Indian Revenue Service officer from the Customs Service and very well decorated officer. But more importantly, he has multifaceted. He is an ace photographer. He is an ace travel log writer. And he has got the ability to convey things speedily in the power of words. Sir, I would request you to engage in conversation with our author of today.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद sir. Thank you so very much. I'm really honored to be in Value of Words once again in its physical edition. It's such a pleasure to be amidst such a distinguished audience and celebrated panelists. Well, the book, as you said, is in search of nectar. What is the nectar? It's a journey to the Kumbh. It's a travelogue. There's some very beautiful descriptions of Prayag, and which I'm not really going to read. I had intended to, but for paucity of time. But is it really a travelogue at the end of it? When Nirmal da, and I've had the good fortune of knowing him now for about 6 years, first we spoke about this, I thought, yes, it must be some sort of a book more about the rituals. And I said, this is about the rituals and religiosity. He says, no. The author, Samresh Bose, whom you've so beautifully translated, is an atheist. And then I sort of took a deep breath. I said, this sounds interesting. And what is he viewing? And that his observation, being aware of what's happening around you. And that is what all the religions, Osho spoke about it. When we meditate, what are we doing? We are becoming aware of our surroundings. So it's a huge and a beautiful experiment of awareness. It's a meditative, contemplative journey that he's undertaking. And he's discovering, as the author writes and so briefly translated, the formless in the forms, because that is what this book is all about. It's a quest. It's a quest for that nectar. Now, there is a Samudragupta well also, which the author Kalkut tries to go to, but then he gives up midway. So much of Stampede and other references to. So that's the churn in that, kaleidoscope of life. The author is embarked to understand the human nature, the divinity amongst all of us. And let me sum up the introduction, the objective before the author in this beautiful conversation which he comes across. He has myriad of conversations with all strata of society, people from the most backward classes and castes to the most elite sections of society. And here is this gentleman called Balram. Balram doesn't have, he's called the mother slayer Balram because he was born with his legs attached to his hips. He can't walk. And here he is in the train. And he's stunning everybody. People are feeling pity for him. Some are donating thinking he's a beggar. But far from it. He's actually a lead singer for an akhada. And he sings such beautiful baul songs, mystic, spiritual songs. And he stuns the author, Kalkut. Because the author feels when he's sometimes being reprimanded, he's being abused. Luggages are being heaped over him in the train, as if he's a man of no consequence. author feels that he should be repelling and you should be getting angry and, but far from it. He's smiling. Author is bemused. How can he take these insults? And then he laughs it off with his divine songs. And the author is humbled. He finds divinity, like, Kabir, who was illiterate. So this book is about several such instances. And I'm going to quickly take you through these beautiful lines of what Balram tells him and what sets the tone of the book and in what is to follow. So, you see, Balram says, Babu, he calls Kalkut Babu, the real issue is humankind. As long as we live, we cannot do without humankind. Is it possible to enjoy happiness or suffer sadness alone? Then why so much of crying when death approaches? In the fear of leaving, right? Let more people come in the cabin. Babu, one who says, I go alone is deluding himself. He's actually, one takes the voyage for meeting others. Otherwise, why should one travel at all? And this makes the author Kalkut reflect. And he says, I was quite surprised by his thoughts. There was a lot of fear, suspicion, and narrowness in my mind because of the insecurity, or in our mind, because of the insecurity in our life created by petty politics and civic administration. We tread cautiously on the quicksand of life. Yet, given an opportunity, we run in search of the pitcher of nectar to immerse in the variegated, resplendent beauty of India. That beauty emanates from lakhs of people's hearts. But what ecstasy this Balram, literally he was there in that cabin down below and people had heaped luggage over him, not knowing that there's a human lying there. But what ecstasy this Balram was experiencing? Was it faith in his unschooled mind or just the jugglery of words?
Hindi saying which describes this thing, because I found it very interesting. I'm sure Nirmal Da will expound it. Chajja, Baja, Kesh. Tino milke Bangladesh.
And you see, Balram, just before handover, Balram is Kalkut asked him, why on earth are you getting into this madness of Kumbh? You can't sort of walk. And look at how positive and how hopeful and how full of energy Balram is. He says, do you want me to lag behind just because I'm lame? If necessary, I will walk on my chest like reptiles. But I shall not be less than anyone who is fully able. So on this note, by the way, there are very beautiful Baul songs in this book, which are absolutely mystical and spiritual, which I thought are in English, but I thought I was reading them with Bengali music flowing in my mind. It recreates the song in the mind. And by the way, Baul was given the status of intangible world heritage in 2005. And it originated, it's in eastern Bengal, also in the Barak Valley, from where our distinguished translator, author comes from. Is that right? You're from Silchar. So there is a connect, I see, more than just mere translation. And for those, I was talking to him this morning, I said, this book deserves a film to be made. It is so beautiful. And he said, well, there is a film. It's in Bengali though. I said, but we need it in English or Hindi or a mix. So on that note, I hand over the mic to Nirmal Da for your thoughts on this phenomenal, a must-read book, an unput-downable book, which I finished at 12:30 midnight on the last weekend, ironically in a Kumbh city, not Prayag, but in Haridwar, where I was born. Over to you, Nirmal Da.
Greetings to all of you. Actually, I did not want either Ravishanker or Deepankar to stop. Both of them were speaking so well about the book. And I am grateful. I think Samresh Bose, maybe either in hell or in heaven, I don't know, but he should also be grateful to these two distinguished scholars, not speaking Bengali, but having read the book so carefully. We do read translations here and there, but then we do not immerse ourselves into the translation for reading. But the way in which Ravishankerji started this conversation, I could see how deeply he has gone into it. And of course, he mentioned about his wife knowing Bengali. That might have contributed a little. I'm not sure, but he must have asked her for interpretation and explanation here and there. And Deepankar, Deepankar, incidentally, 5 years back, the inaugural Valley of Words, I was in conversation with Deepankar Aron because his book on the trails of Buddha was published at that time. And I have seen at that time also, and I am seeing today also, he's always very passionate about whatever book he reads and whatever book he talks about. So I suspect that perhaps he chooses to talk about the books which he really enjoyed and which he was passionately involved with. Well, coming to the present book, you have not asked me any question.
I will. The
You-
whole
you-
host of them.
You were supposed to ask me
Be
questions.
prepared.
I could only tell you that this book was published in 1954. By the time Samresh Basu was a hero for us, and a hero for us in the sense that he was becoming famous as a novelist. And when I was a student of late school, early college, we used to really enjoy and appreciate the novels of Samresh Basu, Srimati Cafe, P.T. Road at Dhare, Baghini, kind of books, And then later on, he virtually revolutionized the Bengali fiction writing by publishing two extremely iconoclastic books. One is called Pavak, another is called Ghatak, and then Prajapati. All the three books were banned by the government of West Bengal for propagating obscenity. There was a court case, a high decibel court case, and in this court case, mercifully, best of the writers of Bengal came up in the court to give witness in favor of the book. And they said that a book can be good or a book can be bad, but a book cannot be obscene. So ultimately, the obscenity charge was removed. But by the time Samresh Basu was, sky high as a writer, so when this Samresh Bose I discovered has written a couple of travelogues. First one was this. Second one was Sharno Shikhar Prangone. This is about the Kanchenjunga mountain. And the third one is Kothaye Pabo Tare. This is about again Baul Melas of, yeah. So I was intrigued that what kind of travelogue he can write. And then I understood that he wrote the travelogue, as God rightly pointed out, as an atheist. He did not go to Kumbh Mela for any pilgrimage. He didn't go there to, discover the nectar, pitcher of nectar, or to take a dip. As a matter of fact, throughout the book, he has never taken a dip in the Ganga. Though he was in the Prayag, but he
in the
never,
end, he avoids scrupulously.
Yeah,
He's asked by all in the boat,
and-
aren't you taking the
Yeah,
dip?
yes.
He says, no. He just stays quiet and he observes others.
a very respected Sardarji
Yeah,
asked him that I'm sick, but I am taking a dip. What about you? You are with an overcoat.
And then Prahlad Das says, you don't want to commit more sins?
So it is not a question of piety. It is not a question of sin. It is not a question of pilgrimage. It is a question of discovery of the nectar in the mind of man and woman. So he was in search of that nectar. Every soul carries at least a drop of that nectar, though apparent manifestation may not be there. Maybe the two persons were quarreling. Maybe someone is stealing. That girl you mentioned, she was a thief.
The thief girl, yes.
She was a thief, a beautiful thief. She used to enchant particularly she used to target males.
With those sidelong glances.
Yeah, with sidelong glances. And she would target those males who are unaccompanied, who are single.
Like
And-
Kalkut.
And even our Kalkut
And multiple times.
got enchanted.
He writes about
he gave her some money. And a Khan Pishi, a Bengali, Termagant Pishi aunt, noticed it. And this Kalkut, our author, was immediately branded as a bad character person.
Because you were supporting thieves.
because he is hobnobbing with a girl which is so bad, who actually sort of elicits money out of young men by luring them with her beauty. And then later on, we discover suddenly a different self of that woman. During the Tithi, a particular Tithi, when the dip was to be
Auspicious
taken, a
time.
very auspicious moment. After that, our Kalkut found that she took a dip, and she was helping a man take a dip, and that man was, differently abled. He was handicapped, and then she was with utmost care, particularly carrying that old man from the bank of the Jamuna, bank of the Ganga towards the tent, and even Khan
Khan
Pishi,
Pishi was next to her.
she could not even recognize that is it that thief. So Khan Pishi, on the contrary, helped her, physically helped her to proceed.
And Kalkut was
And
petrified at the thought of the two of them ending into a big quarrel. You the thief! And far from it.
Kalkut was waiting for an explosion. That this Pishi, the aunt, Termagant aunt, and the thief have finally met. But instead of the explosion,
There is
he found
divinity.
piety, divinity. So this is the drop of nectar which the author was in search of.
So tell us, Nirmal da, how and why did you, I mean, you've talked about several of Kalkut's works, including some getting banned. But what really, I mean, this is the first work of Kalkut that you've translated. You've translated a whole host of other Bengali writers as well.
I
But is this the
translated
first
a couple of stories
of Kalkut also?
published in Indian literature, the Journal of Sahitya Academy, not of Kalkut, written by Samresh Bose. He used to utilize the pen name Kalkut only for travelogues.
He had another pen name also, I learned from from Wikipedia, Master Wikipedia.
Yeah.
So, what made you really pick this book? I mean, you have obviously, I see, in some ways, obviously, you've resonated with his journey. So, I mean, if I may ask you a little personal question, have you found some sort of resonance in your own life with the life of Kalkut? If I may ask, take the liberty to ask this question, because the way you have so beautifully translated this work, it's on a little personal note. I hope I'm in order.
Saint Augustine was once asked, "What is religion?" He replied, "If you ask me, I know not. If you don't ask, I know."
All right. That, I think, beautifully sums it up. A big round of applause. I think he's answered that question in words which go beyond words. Now tell us, Nirmalda, how difficult has it been to translate this work? I mean, both the languages come like the back of your hand, the back of your palm, but all the same, particularly that lyricism in those baul songs, and it's so lucidly translated, so free flowing. I mean, it's such a beautiful, simple read. You don't just want to stop at any time. But those songs from Bengali baul songs, how difficult was that?
Thank you very much, Deepankar.
And you must also, if possible, tell us, recite one or two if you like, whatever of your choice in Bengali, and then tell us English, if possible. Yes, and I mean, it's close to Sanskrit, and I'm sure all of our distinguished audience will understand.
I will not bore all of them with that. Maybe I'll recite two couplets, small couplets. But I'm really grateful to both of you for liking this translation. And as you asked me, yes, translation is a very difficult process. Gone are the days when any dilettant in two languages were called translators. Now, translation is a process of actually reinterpreting a text, manipulating a text, manipulating, re-encoding, and then representing it in a different language. Now, translation is not just the transfer of language, it is also the transfer of culture, especially when you are translating from one culture into another culture. I would not say so if I translate something from Bengali into Hindi, or if someone translates something from Odia into Bangla. But I will say so if someone is translating Bangla into English, or if someone is translated from Hindi into French. Because they are not only linguistic barrier is being crossed.
Right.
Cultural barrier
Cultural choice.
is also being crossed. So it really is a very thoughtful. I took 5 years to do this book.
My
it,
God,
it,
that's-
it really you has to live with it, actually.
Let's give a round of applause for this. 5 years just for the translation. I think it would have been easier to write 2 to 3 books in the meanwhile, you know. But doing a translation requires a much greater amount of effort than an original writing.
Yeah,
If I may say that.
actually, I believe that a translator has to live with a book for a year or two. You have to live with the book. You have to understand the book, realize it within your heart. It must resonate.
When was the
Unless-
first time you read this book? Quick question.
I read it sometime around 1917, 1916, 17. 1916.
19, no. I think it was
2016.
2016.
No, first I read
First time.
First I
That
read
was my
it in
question.
1965.
1965. So you've been living with this book for 57 years.
Yeah.
And I've been living with this only for last couple of months, I can imagine.
And I always nurtured a decision and hope in my mind that someday I will find time to translate it. I was translating other books because those are poetry. Those you can take because when you are translating a fiction, there is a linear story there, and this linear storyline sort of engages you, draws you with it, so it becomes easier to translate. But when you are translating something so deep
Intense.
and intense and philosophical and multi-layered, the author is telling us something, but then there is another meaning inside it. The author is looking at the characters, human characters, from the point of view of a fictionist, but he is describing from the point of view of a travelogue writer. So when you are doing such a book, you need to really sit down. But when I first read it, I was a student. Then one gets involved into the career, and I was never finding time. Only after my retirement, I thought I should take up
I
something.
thought you were far from retired.
Yeah, I should take up something which I've been, always postponing. This is how it happened.
So
So
you
far
must
as
come back to
to-
that lovely any prose, any beautiful song which is there's so many of them in the book, and really it's impossible to sort of sum it up in one session. You really have to go through those beautiful transcendental songs, baul songs, But tell us any one if you remember in Bangla or in English or both if you like.
My memory is not very good, but maybe two small or short couplets. One is there at the beginning of the beginning of
We
the
were
book.
talking about the one which really
Towards
sums
the
up.
beginning,
Yes. I remember you
See,
mentioning
we
this.
always desire for something,
Yes.
and then when you get it, you are not satisfied. When you get it, you feel this is not exactly you wanted. So Tagore has a lovely couplet. Jaha chai, taha bhul kore chai. Jaha pai, taha chai na. So this sums up the entire
You must
career of a man or a woman,
say that in English as well.
So in English, I translated it, whatever I desire, I desire it by mistake. Whatever I get, I do not want it. Then there is a rudimentary Bengali which is used in the Vaishnava Padavali. And Vaishnava Padavali were early Bengali, and even Tagore attempted Vaishnava Padavali under the title Bhanushinger Padavali. So there is a four-line pod. Some of you must have heard it. Janam janam ham roop neharelu, nayan na tirapit veil, lakh lakh jug hiye rakonu, tobu hiye judono nagail. So it is like I have been observing beauty since birth, and yet my eyes never got tired. I have been embracing you since ages, and yet the thirst in my breast is
It's
not
not quenched.
So,
So round of applause for this lovely. And I think when Kalkut comes back, after, in the end of the book, you actually live up the theme. He comes back and, right, and he enters the village, which is so-called lower class village. And he's immediately welcomed by a lady who comes and washes his feet. And he's humbled. He says, he obviously realizes, I really haven't taken that kind of divine dip, which she thinks I have. But see the love for her, for me, just because I've been there. And this is the love for humankind.
And
This is,
she is a lower caste woman.
exactly. I mean,
The author describes her as Bagdi.
Bagini, yes.
Bagdi is a particular caste in Bengal, were almost untouchable, lower caste in those days. So he got down from the train in Vardhaman, and the author was walking back to his village, and suddenly he bumped into her. And she asked, Dada Babu, are you back? He said, yes. From Kumbh Mela? He said, yes. Did you take a dip? He said, he could not really insult her, but by saying no. It would be hurting her religious sentiment. So he sort of, then she said, wait for a moment. Why? She said, wait for a moment. She ran, bought a pitcher of water, and she asked her, take off your chappals. And he took off her chappals, she poured the water on her feet and washed it. So he said, what are you doing? What is this? She says, I will never be able to go to Kumbh Mela. But a person coming back from Kumbh Mela, if I wash his feet, I'll earn as much piety as you have earned. So I'm sharing with
Lovely.
you.
So, if I may, sir, with the permission of the chair, I mean, I think we are, how much time we have? We've got a few minutes to, we've got, okay. So let's look at on this as the quest, as the journey ends, but the quest remains. Let's look at these beautiful lines of Balram. My favorite character in this movie is Balram. I mean, unbeatable, immaculate, spiritual, divine. He loses his life, but he becomes immortal. Now, what does he say? He tells Kalkut, Balram would not let go of me. He kept humming tunefully. And what does he say? The dust of the road, this is page 26. The dust of the road turned into gold. Now I will draw patterns with tears. I won't let you go. And he urges, Kalkut to, come on, Babuji, you also please tell something. So he says, all right, let me recite a few lines which are like a Baul song, and it echoes your sentiments. I won't keep waiting for your visit. I won't keep waiting for your visit. I will go out. The dry petals of the flower are shredding. The dry petals of the flower are shredding. I have no more time, dear. I won't wait. I will go on this quest in search of the pitcher of nectar. And these lines are by Rabindranath Tagore, which Kalkut translates in response to all the lovely Baul singing. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hand over back to the chair.
I think in the last 35 minutes, both Sri Deepankar, Aron and Nirmal Da have taken us or transported us to a different world. See, a book lets a reader form his or her own imagination. I think that's the beauty of a written word book. And in this book, In Search of the Pitcher of Nectar, it's a philosophical quest. It's a travelogue. It's a observation. It's a cultural kaleidoscope. It's many things, as varied as the subcontinent is. If I may add one or two lines, it's the 1950s, immediately after independence. The difference between Bangla and Punjabi are brought about, where the two cultures don't exactly merge or meet. But still, there is that oneness of the human kind which is brought about in this book. The protagonist being a Bangla, is not able to take the roti. And when he served the roti and other North Indian dishes, what you can call Punjabi dishes, then he comes back and he serves chawal, rice, to the Punjabi person. But at the end of it, he opines that wherever I go, I should merge with the culture of the place. So that means I should accept that food and also imbibe it. So we are a nation so variegated. तो आजकल जो है डोसा कीमा है और इस तरीके का चीज़ें हैं. I think it adds to the beauty of it adds to the beauty of our country, oneness. And the Honorable Governor had also mentioned that we should have pride in our own language, in our own Basha, and express ourselves. I think all of this is there. I'll just add one line from my own mother tongue, Tamil. See, there is this whole thing, the quest, you go back and you come and his feet is washed as if. There's a very popular Tamil, I would say, drama. It's called Ulaganathan in Ula. Ulaganathan means Jagannath, the one who travels the world. Ula is chakkar lena, matlab dunya ka chakkar lena. So the person, the protagonist in that drama, travels around the world, and when he comes home, he discovers what he was actually searching for around the world. So it's absolutely like that. On this note, I would like to thank our eminent author, Nirmal Da, Shri Nirmal Kanti Bhattacharjee ji. And I would also like to express my thanks to Shri Deepankar Aron for engaging him in a wonderful conversation. And it's over to Dr. Shachi.
Definitely, we wish we could listen to three of them forever and ever. Unfortunately, time is a constraint. Thank you, each one of you, for this wonderful conversation. Now, I would like to invite Professor Priyadarshan Patraji to come on stage. He's a Pro Vice Chancellor of DIT University. I would like to request him to present author kit to our honorable chair today, N. Ravishanker ji. Thank you, sir.
My great pleasure. I'm actually extremely curious to express a thought. Is it okay?
Yes, yes, sir.
So I was certainly mesmerized to hear about the book, the story, and the interpretations by both Ravishanker ji and Deepankar ji, but also obviously the author. So I was just curious when I heard this pen name. Nobody discussed about it. I was thinking, Kalkut kya hai? So then I realized, I did a little bit of thinking and research. Kalkut is actually a type of poison in Sanskrit. And Kalkut is the poison that was derived or that came from the churning of the sea of milk or the ocean of milk. And what's also more interesting for me, obviously, the nectar and the poison are two contrasting things, but they go together as well. It also means the other doesn't come without the other. So it is just fantastic metaphor in my mind. And thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, sir. Now, I would request N. Ravishanker ji to present the author kit to the translator Nirmal Kanti Bhattacharjee ji. And and Deepankar Aron sir as well. So I again request sir to present the author kit.